My wife left me when I went broke and lost my job. 5 years later, I had built a $15 million empire. And when she showed up at my mansion begging for help, what I handed her made her face turn white. Let me tell you how we got here. I never thought the worst day of my life would start with a cup of coffee. It was a Tuesday morning in October 2018, and I was sitting in my manager's office at Davidson & Pierce, the financial firm where I'd worked for 12 years. My name is Marcus Thompson. I'm 42 years old, and that morning, everything I'd built came crashing down. "Marcus, we're restructuring," my boss said, not even looking me in the eye. "Your position has been eliminated." Just like that. 12 years of 60-hour weeks, missed family dinners, and working holidays. Gone. They gave me a box for my desk and 2 weeks severance. I drove home in a daze, my hands shaking on the steering wheel as I crossed the bridge into our neighborhood in Riverside. How was I going to tell Jennifer? My wife Jennifer and I had been married for 8 years. We lived in a beautiful 3-bedroom house with a view of the river. She worked part-time as a yoga instructor, more as a hobby than necessity, since my salary as a senior financial analyst had always been enough for both of us. We had plans, big plans. We were talking about starting a family, maybe buying a vacation home in the mountains. When I walked through the door that afternoon, Jennifer was in the kitchen making lunch. She looked up and smiled, her blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing one of those expensive athletic outfits she loved. "You're home early," she said. Then she saw my face. "What happened?" "I lost my job," I said. "They let me go." I watched her smile disappear. For a moment, I thought she'd hug me, tell me everything would be okay. Instead, she just stood there, frozen, her hand still holding the knife she'd been using to cut vegetables. "What do you mean they let you go?" she asked, her voice getting higher. "Marcus, we have a mortgage. We have car payments. My Pilates membership alone is $300 a month." "I know," I said, trying to stay calm. "I'll find something else. I have experience, connections." She cut me off. "When? How long is that going to take?" Over the next few weeks, I sent out dozens of resumes. The financial sector was contracting, and positions like mine weren't easy to find. I had interviews, but nothing panned out. Meanwhile, Jennifer grew more distant. She started spending more time at the gym, more time with her friends, less time at home. 2 months after I lost my job, on a cold December evening, Jennifer came home late. I was in the living room, laptop open, applying for another position. She stood in the doorway, and I could see she'd been crying. "Marcus, we need to talk," she said. My stomach dropped. "I can't do this anymore," she continued. "I didn't sign up for this. I married someone successful, someone with ambition, someone who could provide." I stood up. "Jennifer, this is temporary. I'm going to find something." She shook her head. "I don't think you will. And I can't wait around to find out. I'm leaving." "Leaving?" I repeated, unable to believe what I was hearing. "We're married. For better or worse, remember?" She laughed, but it was bitter. "The worse wasn't supposed to include you being unemployed." "I'm 34 years old, Marcus. I want a certain kind of life, and you can't give that to me anymore." She'd already packed her bags. They were in her car. She took off her wedding ring, placed it on the coffee table, and walked out. Just like that. 8 years of marriage ended because I lost my job. The divorce papers came 3 weeks later. She wanted half of everything, including the house. My lawyer, an old college friend named David Chen, looked them over and shook his head. She's going for the throat, Marcus. But here's the thing. She's not entitled to as much as she thinks. You owned the house before you got married, and most of your assets are premarital. We fought it out in court for 6 months. It was brutal. Jennifer claimed she deserved more because she'd supported my career. In the end, she got a settlement, $50,000 and her car. I kept the house, but I could barely afford the mortgage. Those first months after the divorce were the darkest of my life. I was unemployed, alone, and dealing with the humiliation of my wife leaving me when I needed her most. I sold the house, moved into a tiny studio apartment in the industrial part of town, and took a job as a night shift security guard at a warehouse. It paid $11 an hour. I'd gone from making 6 figures to barely scraping by. But something happened during those long, quiet nights at the warehouse. I started thinking, really thinking, about what I wanted. I'd always had this idea in the back of my mind about starting my own business, a financial consulting firm for small businesses. When I worked at Davidson and Pierce, I'd been surrounded by people who only cared about big corporations and wealthy clients. But there was a massive market of small business owners who needed financial guidance and couldn't afford the big firms. I used my severance money, my settlement from selling the house, and a small loan from my brother to start Thompson Financial Consulting. I worked out of my studio apartment, making cold calls during the day and working security at night. My first client was a small family-owned restaurant that was struggling with their books. I charged them a fraction of what the big firms would charge, and I helped them restructure their finances. Within 3 months, they were profitable. They referred me to another business, and then another. Slowly, painfully slowly, my business grew. I hired my first employee after a year, a young accountant named Sarah who believed in what I was doing. Then another, then another. We moved into a small office space. I quit my security job. By year 3, we had 20 employees and over 200 clients. By year 4, we'd expanded to 3 cities. And by year 5, Thompson Financial Consulting was valued at $15 million. I moved into a new house. Not just a house, a mansion. It was a 6-bedroom estate in Willowbrook, the most exclusive neighborhood in the city, with a circular driveway, a pool, and a view that stretched for miles. I bought myself a Mercedes, not because I needed it, but because I could. I'd worked for it. I'd earned it. Every morning, I woke up in that house and remembered the studio apartment, the night shifts, the loneliness, and I was grateful. It was a Saturday afternoon in November, exactly 5 years after Jennifer had walked out on me, when my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I was in my home office reviewing contracts for a new client acquisition. I walked to the front door and opened it. Standing on my doorstep, looking older and tired, was Jennifer. She was wearing jeans and a plain sweater, nothing like the designer clothes she used to insist on. Her hair was shorter, and there were lines around her eyes I didn't remember. For a moment, neither of us spoke. "Marcus," she finally said, her voice small. "Hi." I just stared at her. "What are you doing here?" I asked. She looked past me into the house, and I saw her eyes widen as she took in the marble floors, the chandelier, the sweeping staircase. I heard you were doing well," she said. "I wanted to see you. To talk." I didn't move from the doorway. "Talk about what, Jennifer?" She bit her lip, and I could see tears forming in her eyes. "I made a mistake, Marcus. I made a huge mistake. I shouldn't have left you. I was scared and selfish, and I didn't see what you were capable of. But I see it now." "You see it now?" I repeated, anger rising in my chest. You see it now that I have money again? Where were you when I was working night shifts? Where were you when I was living in a 400-square-foot apartment eating ramen for dinner? She started crying. I know I hurt you. But people make mistakes, and I'm asking for another chance. We were good together once. We could be good together again. I took a deep breath. Part of me, a small part, wanted to slam the door in her face. But another part of me, the part that had learned something during those 5 years, knew that anger wouldn't serve me. Jennifer, I said quietly, you didn't leave me because we had problems. You left me because I didn't have money. You told me yourself. You wanted a certain kind of life and I couldn't provide it. You didn't love me. You loved what I could give you. She shook her head frantically. That's not true. I did love you. I do love you. If that were true, I continued, you would have stayed. You would have believed in me when I needed you to believe in me. But you didn't. And here's what I learned, Jennifer. I don't need someone who loves me only when things are going well. I need someone who's with me through everything. And you proved you're not that person. Her face crumpled. Please, Marcus. Please don't do this. I need you. Things haven't been good for me. I lost my job, my apartment. And there it was. The real reason she was here. She wasn't here because she missed me or because she realized she'd made a mistake. She was here because she needed financial help. So you came here because you're struggling, I said. Just like I was struggling when you left me. She didn't deny it. I have nowhere else to go, she whispered. My parents won't help me anymore. I maxed out my credit cards. I thought maybe you'd remember what we had. I felt something then. Not anger, not satisfaction, but sadness. Sadness for the person she was, for the fact that she still didn't understand what really mattered in life. I do remember what we had, I told her. I remember that when I needed you most, you abandoned me. I remember you calling me unambitious. I remember you taking off your wedding ring and walking out without looking back. And I'm grateful for it. She looked up, confused. Grateful? Yes, I said. Because losing you was the best thing that ever happened to me. It taught me who I really was. It taught me that I didn't need someone else to define my worth. It forced me to build something real, something I'm proud of. You leaving me didn't break me, Jennifer. It freed me. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my wallet. I took out $500 bills and held them out to her. This should help you get on your feet. Find a room somewhere, buy some groceries. But this is the last time we're going to see each other. She stared at the money, then at me. That's it? She asked, her voice breaking. $500? Marcus, you're a millionaire now. You live in a mansion. You could help me. I shook my head. I could, but I won't. Not because I hate you, Jennifer, but because you need to learn the same lesson I learned. You need to figure out who you are when you have nothing. You need to build something yourself instead of looking for someone else to provide it for you. That's the only way you're going to be happy. She took the money, her hands shaking. I hope you're happy now, she said bitterly. I am, I replied, and I meant it. I'm happier than I've ever been, and someday I hope you can say the same thing. She turned and walked back to her car, an old Toyota with a dent in the side, nothing like the luxury SUV she'd driven when we were married. I watched her drive away, and then I closed the door. I went back to my office, but I couldn't focus on the contracts anymore. I walked out onto my back terrace, looking out at the pool, the gardens, the view of the city below. 5 years ago, I'd lost everything. My job, my wife, my home, my sense of self-worth. I'd been at rock bottom, wondering if I'd ever climb back up. But I had climbed back up. And I'd done it alone, through hard work, determination, and faith in myself. That evening, my girlfriend Emma came over for dinner. I'd met her 2 years earlier at a charity event. She was a teacher, passionate about education reform, and she didn't care about my money. She cared about who I was as a person. When I told her about Jennifer showing up, she listened quietly, then took my hand. "How do you feel?" she asked. I thought about it. "Grateful," I said. "I'm grateful that chapter of my life is over. I'm grateful I learned what I'm capable of. And I'm grateful for everything I have now, including you." She smiled and kissed me. "Good," she said, "because you deserve all of it." As we sat there on the terrace watching the sunset, I realized something important. Jennifer had done me a favor when she left. She'd shown me that I didn't need someone else to validate me, to make me whole, to give my life meaning. I could do that myself. And once I learned that lesson, everything else fell into place. The business, the success, the real love. Sometimes the worst moments of our lives turn out to be the turning points. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to discover what we're truly made of. And sometimes the people who leave us end up doing us the biggest favor of all. They force us to become who we were always meant to be. 5 years ago, I was Marcus Thompson, the guy whose wife left him because he lost his job. Today, I'm Marcus Thompson, the man who built an empire from nothing, and that makes all the difference. Want another revenge story? Tom Parker caught his ex-wife with his best friend at their daughter's graduation. His response? Legendary. Click on the left to watch now.